Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it does continue to look really unsettled and pretty cool as well. A lot of rain and showers pushing in from the west. Most of the precipitation will be falling in northern and western areas, which is pretty normal with westerly flow, but areas further southwards and eastwards will still see rain at times, just less of it and less likely as well. We'll then have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GEM, ECMWF and the Ensembles, looking at what's going to be happening through the middle of October. And we are still seeing a very westerly trend, but as we have alluded to in the last few videos, there is signs of a bit more application. So yes, everything's still coming from the west, but it might mean that we see some very cold air masses, at least for this time of year, sweep through maybe 5 degrees below average, making it really quite chilly through the through the middle third really of October, perhaps into the second half of the month as well. So we will have a look at that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you look at the live radar at the moment, I'm recording this around 5 PM, and you can see we've got some real heavy showers pushing through. Now it does look like that it is pretty severe out there, but these showers are moving through very, very quickly along a very blustery wind. So yes, some of these showers are very, very heavy, torrential and squally under it, but they shouldn't last more than 10 to 15 minutes if they do move through quite quickly. Where they do band up together, perhaps into parts of Scotland, maybe could last for longer, but these showers across parts of England and Wales are sweeping through very, very quickly, and they are all behind this massive weather front that did spread through earlier. Now, we did think there was potential for quite a severe system to move in. It didn't quite develop in the end, but we still did see yellow rain and wind warnings in force, and there still is quite gusty winds out there, and there is still some heavy rain. So make sure you do take care over the course of this evening. But these sort of conditions, blustery, rainy conditions, with some brighter, drier spells around, is what we're going to be seeing really over the next 5 days. Now, if you put on the temperatures, you may be able to feel that it's slightly colder this afternoon than it was this morning, and that's because a cold front has swept through. Now, this morning, we're in quite a warm air mass, around 5 to 10 degrees at 850 HPA, but around freezing at 850 HPA is replacing it. So, even though many areas saw rain earlier, it probably actually feels a little bit chillier out there in drier conditions now than it did in the rain. It probably felt quite humid out there. That's because the cold front swept through and it did sweep away all that more moist, warmer mid-Atlantic air, replacing it with some cold polar maritime air. So it's going to feel a lot chillier out there, and especially where we see these showers and these gusty winds as well. It's going to feel pretty cold, especially in the north and west. And you can see this reflected at the moment in the surface conditions, really struggling above the mid-teens. Many areas further north and westwards into the low teens. If we do go over to the UKV and see what that is showing in terms of precipitation and temperature over the next 5 days, you can see the big weather front that swept through earlier being replaced by heavy showers. These will sort of dissipate over the course of this evening across many areas further southwards, but across Scotland and Northern Ireland they will continue through the night, and then into tomorrow afternoon we can see some more showers across Northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and maybe Republic of Ireland as well, but they won't be quite as heavy and as numerous. Beyond that, we do see more heavy showers pushing through Thursday evening across parts of Scotland. And this is why I said it's going to remain fairly unsettled for all, but the most of the rain is going to be in northern England, Scotland, and parts of Ireland and Northern Ireland. But there will still be showers further south and eastwards. Through Friday, we see another little weather front with some squally rain push through, and it could be quite severe there through rush hour on Friday. Down in the south and the east, where it's been a largely drier day, we could see some real squally conditions push through in the evening, and then we generally go into sunshine and showers in from the west for another weather front arrives for Sunday into Monday. So you can see it is generally still very westerly. There will be dry conditions at times, but most areas will see rain, probably most days, at least for a short period of time. Northern England, Scotland, Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland some of these days could be real big washouts with some breaks here or there. But continued westerly, very unsettled, blustery sort of conditions, and that's what we're going to be seeing over the next few days and probably the next couple of weeks, but perhaps the next couple of weeks could be turning colder with that as well. If you look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon those temperatures did peak really actually early around 10 a.m. You can see 19 degrees across the East Anglia, but if you run it to 3 p.m, hardly anywhere is getting much above 16 or 17, and most areas around that sort of 12 to 15 degree mark, so much cooler. Northern England, Scotland, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland struggling around that 10 to 12 degree mark. Overnight tonight, these temperatures won't drop away too much, so we've got a lot of cloud around, maybe 8 to 10 degrees, and into Thursday afternoon, rising a little bit higher with slightly drier conditions further southwards, maybe 18 or 19, and into Friday, overnight temperatures not too bad, and into the afternoon, perhaps 18, 19 in the south, but we're seeing that cold front sweep through, that squall line push through. You can see to north of it, really chilly, struggling much above 12, 13 degrees, maybe mid-single digits across parts of Scotland. And into Saturday, you can see overnight temperatures dropping down quite low, mid to high single digits. Pretty chilly for this time of year, and could be really colder than that. And into Saturday afternoon, you can see again 14 to 16 degrees across the bulk of England and Wales. It doesn't sound too bad, but it will feel pretty chilly with those blustery winds. And into Saturday night into Sunday, you can see dropping quite low again, mid-single digits overnight, and Sunday afternoon maybe peaking as high as 16 or 17, so not too bad there, but still cooler in the north and the west. So if you now go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, you can see westerly flow at the moment, and it just continues all the way through this week. We see more low pressure systems plunging in, and we could see perhaps next end of next week a real severe low developing. Now there are hints that we could see a real severe low, as I said, and it could be in fact a named storm. It's a similar sort of system that we saw this week, or we've since spread through today, but that system didn't quite develop. So it'll be interesting to see whether this does develop, but we probably won't be having a look into too much detail for a few days at least, maybe until the end of the weekend and the start of next week, because there will still be a lot of model volatility with this. But if we did start to see some consistency, a lot of the ensemble members going for it, all the operational runs going for it for numerous runs, then perhaps we would have a little bit more of a look at this in terms of it being quite a severe low with some very strong gusty winds, with the centre of this low down to probably 970 millibars. You can see though it is cold low pressure. You've got northerly flow in behind it, so regardless of how deep it gets, it's going to be chilly, unsettled. That's the trend with this, and beyond that we do see high pressure build in for a time before it does go generally just into a flat westerly once again. And we can see that very well by having a look at the upper air temperatures. If we run back to when that low moves through, we can see very mild ahead of it and very cold behind it. And the best way to look at this is the temperature deviation. You can see very warm air ahead of it, wrapped behind colder air, and the potential equivalent temperature for this as well. You see mild wedge of air before very cold air does sweep in behind it there, around 216 hours. So yeah, just showing you the collision of air masses here that is causing this this very severe low to potentially develop in around 7, 8, 9 days time. But we'll have to just keep an eye. The trend though of westerly unsettled gusty conditions is pretty much consistent. It's just now is focusing on individual low pressure systems and to see how they do develop. If you go over to the GEM, see how that does compare. Again, a general westerly flow over the next few days and just continuing. We could see a big low there, potentially moving for Scotland towards Sunday and Monday. Again, the other run's not picking up on that. It's severe, but could see some gusty winds there, maybe yellow warnings perhaps for that. And until around day 8, 9, day 10, that low never quite sweeps through because we see a bit of a blocking high up towards Scandinavia, which stalls the lower pressure. So it doesn't allow it to develop as much. The jet stream doesn't pick it up as much, but instead the low just stalls. And what this does, it will just spiral a lot of heavy showers pushing in from the west. And yeah, it would be very horrible and miserable out there with a lot of showers and gusty winds. So yes, it wouldn't cause any major storm or named storm or anything, but it would be pretty chilly and very unsettled. If we do compare it to the ECMWF, let's see what that is showing today. Again, a westerly flow over the next few days. See that low potentially to Sunday to Monday does develop mainly to our north, but could just be a push of very heavy rain there perhaps, and some gusty winds for a time. But if that did really develop, we could be seeing a severe system with that, but unlikely at this stage. It's the sort of pattern that could cause a severe system, but we're not seeing too much development at the moment. Beyond that, we do see this real big low again spin up from the ECMWF. So both the GFS and the ECMWF around day 8, day 9 are spinning up this real deep low. And again, if we do zoom into the United Kingdom, look, you can see it getting down to 974 millibars towards the centre of this low. So very, very strong low pressure system. And look at those gusty winds as well. Very, very strong as well. Again, it's also 40, 50 knots there. So really quite a strong low pressure system. And again, fueled by this collision of air masses. -2 degrees at 800 VHPA in the Atlantic, 3 or 4 degrees ahead of it. So big temperature contrast fueling this big low pressure system. And at day 10, you can see, regardless of how severe that low gets, we are into a cold west to northwesterly with a chilly polar maritime air mass moving in. We can see this well reflected by having a look at the ensembles now from the GFS. Generally around, slightly above, slightly below average over the next sort of 5-6 days. This will change slightly depending on each ensemble member run, but we are generally around or below average, maybe slightly above for a day or two here. But it's around that sort of 7, 8, 9 days time that we do see a big drop in upper air temperatures, very cold down towards freezing 800 VHPA, a good 5 degrees below average, but also we see a big precipitation spikes, and that could be when that raw big low pressure system spins up. So got to keep an eye on this in around sort of 7 days time. We'll be able to pinpoint it a little bit better, perhaps, as I said, into the weekend and the start of next week, but for the time being it's just something to keep an eye on. The next sort of 5 days or so, which is the time frame which is pretty reliable, is looking very unsettled and generally cooler. Even when we have those warmer upper air temperatures, it's not going to really help us a lot at all. It could just fuel more showers and areas of rain. In the longer term, though, still looks around or below average with considerable precipitation. And if we do compare it to the ECMWF midnight run, again around or below average for the foreseeable future, and that dip around 13th to 14th of October, 8-9 days time, with big precipitation spikes appearing there as well. So yeah, could be quite a big low moving through there. And of course, looking at Glasgow, areas further north, you can see a lot more precipitation, a lot more up and down. It's got almost a typical zonal sine wave there, as the low pressure track is towards northern England, Scotland. So we're seeing big alternating air masses, and you see each time we get a spike in air masses, we see or spike in upper air temperatures, indicating a warmer air mass. Look what we see, a spike in precipitation. It's a typical zonal sine wave where we see warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, with big areas of rain pushing through as well. There will be drier days here or there with just some showers, but looking like this, there could be 3-4 days perhaps of washout conditions over the next 7 to 10 days. So yeah, not particularly great. But it is this time of year. Westerly winds are pretty common. Big low pressure systems are pretty common this time of year. But we just got to keep an eye on whether they do get anything more severe than just a standard low pressure system, but it produces some stronger winds and some very heavy rains. So we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but for the time being, it's pretty typical horrible autumnal weather. Some people may enjoy this sort of weather, but to be honest, I'd much rather we had some drier days here or there and a bit more of a mix, maybe some warmer days as well. I haven't seen much warmth out there at all. Even when we do have these warmer upper air temperatures, it's combined with cloud and rain, so it's not particularly great. But yeah, pretty much typical westerly autumnal conditions, just as the polar vortex builds up, or we normally do expect this time of year. It'll be interesting though, in around a month's time, as we head into early to mid of November, what is going to happen, whether we do start to see any blocking appearing, as that will start to give us some proper indications for the winter. Of course, coming up over the next few days, the next few weeks, we'll have our winter look aheads, and then we'll have a look at some longer range indications of what could be happening, so make sure you do stay tuned for those. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.